Hello and welcome to the Hybrid Warfare Analytical Group's UCMC podcast, where our analysts convene to delve into the realms of Russian disinformation, propaganda and the influence of hybrid warfare in 2024. And today we talk about the European Political Community Summit on July the 18th and the disinformation Russian propaganda is spreading post its completion. I'm your host, Matt Wickham, and I'm joined by my fellow analysts, Nastya, Anton and Volodymyr. The European Neighbourhood Policy is a EU initiative designed to foster stability and prosperity around its new borders by building strong, long-term relationships with neighbouring countries. Launched in 2003, the ENP seeks to prevent new divides between the EU and its neighbours while enhancing cooperation in politics, economics, culture and security. The policy focuses on promoting shared values like the rule of law, human rights and sustainable development, although it does not address EU membership for these nations. The current summit, organised at Blenheim Palace, Oxfordshire, in the UK, the ancestral home of the Dukes of Marlborough, where Winston Churchill was born, started 2 weeks after the UK parliamentary elections, which returned Labour, led by Keir Starmer, to power after a 14-year break. One of the new British Prime Minister's priorities is to establish relations with the European Union, and he intends to use the EPC Forum to do so. In this episode, our analysts discuss how Russian Telegram channels and state media attempt to portray the conference as a talking shop, Western trickery against poor, vulnerable Ukraine. Plus, we look at how the conference held in the UK, bringing Zelensky and Zelensky together for the first time, well, in public, and how it gave the Kremlin the opportunity to revive disinformation and fakes about the feud between the two, as well as Zelensky's apparent attempts to assassinate the new ambassador. Let's delve in, starting with you, Anton. Please tell me, what have you been seeing on Russian Telegram channels?
For the most part, the summits of European political community were covered by the Russian Federation as a platform where the Ukrainian government goes to beg for the resources of its partners. At the same time, Russian bloggers and media pointed out that the European political community structure was created only to form the illusion of the closeness to EU membership for countries such as Ukraine or Moldova. The recent summit was no exception. The Russian bloggers and experts characterized it as another political show that supposedly brings Ukraine closer to EU membership. Through these messages, the Kremlin is trying to show Ukraine as a weak or poor state that can only ask for another portion of military and financial aid. In this way, Moscow wants to turn people of Ukraine against the Ukrainian government, which is a classic technique of hybrid war.
And Nastya, what has the state media been pushing about the meeting? Has it received significant coverage?
Greetings to all of you. The Russian covering of the summit in the media was pure and was quite pure, and the attention they brought to this event was quite simple and quite small, but there was something interesting, and in Russian media, in their coverage of the summit, they attempt to portray it as insignificant and ineffective, and they referred to the summit as a hall for 15 talking heads and a talking shop, a classic narrative used by Russian media and Russian propaganda to downplay the democratic efforts of Ukraine and its alliance. And however, these efforts were far from fruitless for Ukraine, At the summit, Slovenia and the Czech Republic signed agreements on cooperation in the field of security and long-term support for Ukraine. And the unconventional format of the event naturally drew criticism in Russian media. Also, foreign media emphasized that the lack of organizational constraints allowed delegates to discuss matters of common interest more freely. Even the most liberal, if we can call any of Russian media liberal, Russian media focused on the notion that any military assistance to Ukraine would only prolong the conflict and escalate the spiral of confrontation. This underscores the argument that Russian media are highly biased. Of course, Russian media lauded statements made by Orban, who continues to defend the Russian agenda and promote the theme of negotiation and Europe's defense on the United States. On July 15, it was revealed that Orban has sent proposals to European Union leaders regarding the resolution of the Ukrainian conflict, following his peace mission to Russia, the United States, China, and Ukraine. Judging by the reactions of world leaders to these statements at the summit, Ursula von der Leyen in July called them appeasement attempts. These proposals were neither revolutionary nor unexpected. And just fun fact that another ally of Putin, Serbian President Vučić, announced to the Russian agency TASS that the summit was pointless and that no one except Ukraine was allowed to speak.
And Volodymyr, this is the first time the two have come into contact, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, at least in a public setting since Zaluzhny assumed his role earlier this month. How has propaganda reacted?
Thanks, Matt. So I'd like also to mention that one of the main topics regarding the Russian coverage of European Political Community Summit was attempt to mock over Zelensky as the president of Ukraine and Ukrainian ambassador to the United Kingdom, former commander of the armed forces of Ukraine, Valery Zaluzhny. Russia often spread rumors about conflicts between Zelensky and Zaluzhny. However, this visit of President Zelensky to United Kingdom under the umbrella of European Political Community Summit was used by Russians to provoke a new wave of disinformation regarding so-called conflict between Ukrainian president and former commander-in-chief. I'd like to remind that Zaluzhny was appointed as the Ukrainian ambassador to the United Kingdom in March 2024. And this is the first time when President of Ukraine met with Zaluzhny in role of Ukraine's ambassador. So regarding this meeting and the pictures that were the photos of President and former Commander-in-Chief that were spread among Telegram channels, I'd like to mention the rumors that Russians imposed about visit of one of the assistant of the candidate for the vice president of the United States from Republican Party, J.D. Vance. And it is rumored that this secret visit was aimed to negotiate with Zaluzhny in London. And that means that Russians tried to impose such a belief that the United States will use Zaluzhny to undermine Zelensky's positions and bring him to the office in Ukraine instead of Zelensky. Also, some of Russian Telegram channels spread right information about preparation for even assassination of Zaluzhny by Ukrainian authorities, which is completely untrue, because in such regard there were no intention to appoint Zaluzhny as ambassador to one of the most important Western country for Ukraine. So that's just a simple examples on how Russia tried to spread disobedience, spread distrust between leaders of Ukrainian command and even spread such disgraceful and varied rumors among simple Ukrainians, because that is the main strategy for Russia to undermine Ukrainian rear with the aim to split Ukrainians and undermine our possession to continue resilience towards Russian offensive operations.